My Sahana, meaning my fortitude or patience in Sanskrit, is a non-profit organization designed to reduce stigma and increase awareness about emotional health and wellness in the South Asian community. Through easy-to-understand descriptions of numerous emotional health issues, educational workshops, and culturally sensitive coping strategies, they hope to empower the South Asian community to realize their inner fortitude, take charge of their mental health, and make better and more informed decisions for a healthier lifestyle. Today we have with us Parijat Deshpande, who is the founder and CEO of My Sahana. Parijat, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
You're doing a great job. Tell me what triggered you to start this.
So I was in graduate school doing clinical psychology, and I really wanted to work with the South Asian community since I grew up in the South Asian community. And I just wasn't seeing a lot of South Asian clients coming into our clinic, and I wanted to know why. And of the few clients that I did see, I kind of got the feeling that they weren't really sure why they were even coming, and that prompted me to do some more research and talk to my colleagues, and it turned out that there's just not a lot of literature out there and a lot of information about South Asian mental health, and it kind of snowballed into this feeling of, I think South Asians just don't know what mental health is, and so I really wanted to bridge that gap between the mental health community and the South Asian community, and by providing awareness and education, I felt that we could join the two.
So do you feel that it's that they don't know about mental health, or there are some stigmas associated with it?
I think it's both, actually. I think there's definitely a lot of misconception and a lot of misinformation about mental health, and then there's a lot of stigma just built into the culture. You know, we being a very family-oriented culture, we like to keep things private and with people inside the family, and so we don't really like to go outside and get extra advice.
Now, while you were working with them, what did you find was the single most challenge for most of the South Asians living over here, because they uproot themselves from India, come over here, and they have to deal with a whole different environment? What was the single most challenge?
Right. So, you know, with South Asians, as with any other culture, all kinds of mental health issues are prevalent. But especially with South Asians, I saw there was a huge issue of acculturation stress that, just like you said, coming from India or Pakistan or Bangladesh, they are coming into America, which is a completely different culture, different lifestyle, different language sometimes, and so that's really isolating and makes people feel very lonely. And
very stressful, I bet.
It's very stressful. It increases a lot of stress. It increases the risk for anxiety and depression, which is a really big deal. And then for those who were born and raised here as first-generation born South Asian Americans, then you're having to balance this home culture that's completely different than the culture you see at school and at college, and that brings in a lot of stress as well, which also increases the risk of other mental health issues.
So do you feel, you know, Parijat, that if we suspect that a friend is suffering or is starting to get depressed, do you feel that we should intervene, or should we just recommend they seek professional help?
I think intervening is a great idea, because you're the friend, so you can come from a very personal and close perspective, and you can, you know, approach them and say, hey, I'm really concerned about you. I've noticed that you've been a little down or a little off. Are you okay? I'm here if you want to talk. And if they seem to be open, definitely offering them to seek services is great. Otherwise, having them at least open up to you, that's better than them not telling anybody at all.
So some support is
Absolutely.
very helpful. Yeah.
Very helpful.
I know you talk about food and depression.
Yes.
You have to tell us what kind of food releases stress or makes you more energetic and positive.
Absolutely. You know, the #1 thing is vitamin C. It's so good for your adrenal glands, the little ones that sit on top of your...
Orange juice.
Orange juice, oranges, any kind of citrus. It's so, so good for you to rebuild them.
No wonder I'm never depressed. I'm a fruit addict, and I eat tons of fruit all day.
Wonderful. So yeah, vitamin C and omega-3 are the two big ones.
Okay.
So, and you know, if you're not getting enough fruits, like if you're not a fruit addict like Inna, so would you recommend popping those 1000 mg tablets of vitamin C that you get?
Yeah, in any way that you can. Obviously, fresh fruit, fresh vegetables are the best way to go.
Right.
But absolutely, those kind of tablets or powdered drinks are fantastic.
Now, when people come from India, the new immigrants, as opposed to the second generation and the children and all, there are different levels of depression and different levels of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Can you walk us a little bit through the differences in different groups of these immigrants?
Sure. So Generally, the people who come over, it depends on their age. If they come when they're younger or they're just starting their families, then we see a lot of the acculturation stress that I'd mentioned earlier. The elderly that tend to come over, which we're seeing now as, you know, their children are settling down here and they're wanting to be with their families here, we see a lot of depression in that age group as well because they're alone, and loneliness and isolation is a very huge risk factor for depression.
What demographics would that be?
The elderly, so I would say like 60 plus or so, the ones that are coming here, you know, either they have their grandkids and they want to just be here to help out with raising them.
That's hard because
it's very hard.
They've been in India for a very long time and then have to
They have an extended community there. How do we combat that?
You know, a lot of it is having everybody in the family take note and be aware of the signs and symptoms of depression in the elderly. Make sure that they're included in family activities, especially if they don't speak English. You know, they're going to be very isolated from the outside world.
But there are a lot of organizations that are taking care of elderlies and taking them out for day trips and stuff.
Exactly. Getting them involved in those organizations. I think a lot of the local temples do similar things too. And just
I think ICC has a good senior program.
They do. It's fantastic. Yeah, just getting them connected with other people their age who they can relate to and spend time with.
And also, how about the kids?
The young.
That's important.
Yes.
I mean, the kids have a big struggle at home and at school.
Exactly. I actually work a lot with children, and the biggest source of stress and depression that I see in kids is because of academic pressure. There's just so much push from parents to reach a certain level of academic success, and it's just very hard for children to keep up with that.
And just not that, they are doing all these extracurricular activities at the same time.
Yeah.
You have to be first in swimming, first in tennis, first in volleyball. You
Very
have
stressful.
to come out first, and there's only one first, and poor kid.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, they get stressed and pulled in different directions the same way that adults do, and so they manifest it in very similar ways.
That's a very important message to some of the parents. Even I see out here in the Bay Area, they're so competitive. And they pass that on to their kids, and I feel sorry for the kids sometimes that they have to go through this. But actually, do you think it's good for the kid to be exposed to that competitive environment right from their childhood? Because then perhaps when they grow up, they carry that feeling and always strive, or, you know, is it okay to let them be?
I think it depends on how you frame it. A lot of the South Asian parents tend to frame it as you must get first, otherwise you're not worthy or you're not good enough or there's something wrong with you, and I think that's the wrong approach. Instead, if you approach it as there will always be competition, there will always be things to strive for, and here are tools on how to do the best that you can, then I think you can carry these lifelong lessons.
Yeah, it's the way you convey your message to them.
So tools again, right?
Yeah, and also I think most importantly, the parents should not be stressed at that point, because sometimes that percolates to the kid, because the kid senses that the parents are very stressed and then they get stressed. So if you are cool and relaxed about bringing up your kid, then I think that feeling is good within.
That's very hard for South Asian parents, though.
Yes.
And we've seen that in India and here.
We can just remind them.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Parijat.
Thank you very much.